And now, Energies Production presents Pittsburgh Poltergeezer Pareto. Today's topic, mind control, schemes, and symptoms, and action. Hello and welcome back. I can do this while I can. Excuse me. I got up at midnight for the plasma I mentioned uptake that comes up my steps, whether it's bumped at me as a weapon or drawn up because I'm a magnet for that kind of thing. Normally I get a little bit of death dust. It's like something out of a crypt. But this time it was like the graveyard of 100 drywallers and some people in caskets with a whole bunch of makeup on. Sorry. That's us. I'm now on Rumble and Telegram. You can find me on YouTube and BitChute. If you have any questions, see my past videos. They're typically very short, about 10 minutes or less. Feel free to copy anything I teach or record. Please consider the teachings, or I should say what comes out of my mouth. It helps enhance the 100th monkey effect as we're all unified. As one of our channels, or whatever you want to call it, is dedicated to one another. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me, there's so much dust. Something big is coming up, I think. Mind control, schemes, and symptoms. Wow. It's like a whole bunch of hormones or something. I don't know how to describe it. I'm sorry. 1 second, please. Okay, two-way. Plasma and electromagnetic frequencies. That's two ways they do it, and it's also a two-way street. Plasma, coming and going correspondence you were unaware of. Electromagnetic frequencies, such as your telephones, interrupting, taking your data, interacting with it, and sending, influencing energies back to you as a control, like a electric fence for a dog or something like that. And custom Lego, the angle of the Illuminati, custom ego, AM and PM, and it is customized per person because you have that phone. They had redundancies in the plasma scanning, we will say. Excuse me. Anyway, they would incorporate, in my experience, like the sleep pollution lasts for a good 2 hours in the daytime. By that time, you'd already be at work, getting bathed with mercuric nanoparticles or particulate samples. More schemes and symptoms. Samples, mental and physical. I'm sorry, they really messed me up. Taking mental and physical samples. Scan you with your phone, see your physical and mental status, influence it, look for confirmation. As you might assume or conclude, this is genocide, and it's habitual. It can cause you to have fails in social, business, crashes, fights, emotional overreactions, etc. And it's been going on for millennia or so, I've been told. A long, long, long time. And the myth, I hear a lot of people say, oh, they have to tell you what they're going to do. No, they don't. Because of the nature of their antenna not being in, because they can't close off their antenna completely. Like the Queen used to have to ride around in a giant monoatomic, really heavy gold carriage. It's not that they must inform you. It's leaking out of their brains, so to speak. That's why they confuse the snot out of us. Literally. Excuse me. And, oh my. Mind control schemes and symptoms. What to watch for? 2% peer judge. When you judge yourself and your peers, remember you were only 2% responsible. And I'd say statistically none at all, unless you're just evil at heart. And if you're evil at heart, yes, it is personal. And why? Why mind control your what? Oh, why were you controlled? Soul fillet net. I described that, how they mix and mire you all through this thing and you can't get out. And they're doing the same thing with antennas, electromagnetic. A good example, I think I might have it on later. And who and when? You, right now. It's happening. You, instead of, 1 or 2 to 4% of yourself, you are going to be hell, earth, and heaven knowledge combined. How are you going to get there? You're going to have to sort through every last thought and then relax for a while and then repeat it. Eventually, you'll realize most of your thought patterns are just like commercials. Not a greatest example, but redundant. And that's every thought. And try to focus on the future first, because the history is real hard to accept. And the physics I described in earlier videos show that it's actually being overwritten. That's how God forgets sin. And like some people say, it's his story, the patriarch or Satan or Lucifer or whoever, whatever male face you put on that. Methods and symptoms. Cell also means jail, phone, or a grid, like a little pod in a honeycomb of a bee. In other words, you're locked in, you just don't realize it. Scan, impose, and confirm. We kind of went over that. They can scan you plasmatically, electromagnetically, impose things on you in both, as we discussed, and then confirm it, and then kind of file you and get lazy as your handlers or controllers. And this, I think it's voice activated something or other, VOX, as say I or others raising consciousness. When you start having thought patterns that are unique or your own, it will interrupt and you'll get thought pattern interruptions and pains. And when you talk, even more so, is my experience. Do is directed energy weapons. Variant and mobile. Mobile is where they like to have 2 cars and you walk between it and they hit you with something. The one that hit me made me feel really freezing cold, like 1,000 snowmen ran through me. And variant would be all these Wi-Fi's, XMs, Bluetooths all around. They pinpoint you so they could rise certain ones in certain locations to complete transmission capability, so that it confluences on you and like not a person socially distanced from you. And then oral, food, pills, vapors, trying to get you to intake something transpondent. And we went over varieties of how they go through all this. Even with marijuana distributor centers, they say that you cannot smoke the marijuana. You just have to heat it. And then nasal, the Egyptians would jam that thing up your nose to break so your corpus or whatever is vulnerable. And Nazi is nasi. Iran is nary. Backwards, which is nasal. Like they just did there, have plasma being with nano drag particles with it. That just really make it tough to do anything like talk. Excuse me. And then visual, plasmatic coal energy. Plasmatic coalescence with your television, the rastering that was going on in the old TVs. Plasmatic coalescence on the new ones. More methods and symptoms, page 2. Sublim Doppler, fight and flight. Superlim Doppler would be red and blue flashing lights. A train passing by you at close distance. This would be infrared you can't see. And probably blue wave you can't see. So you don't know what to do. Prop and push with the plasma slathering we mentioned before. Excuse me. But that's also propaganda. And then push. In your mind, they'll keep saying, you're sick, you're sick. It's not a reaction to the particles in your nose with electromagnetic frequency. And that's a lie. Electromagnetic plasma, electromagnetic frequency. And then they'll do polar. They'll do flips, flukes, and flitters. You can feel it in your field, like a little mini panic attack, a heart flutter, a fluke in your thoughts, a flip in your polarity, a thought loss, brain fart. Vector impositions, you feel like you have to dash, or you need to change the channel and you have to do it like now, but you don't know why. Mind fears. Familia. They'll mind all your fears that you're familiar with. Try to get you to blame your family too. Microfocus. Generic ones are just nuh-uh, kind of going in the back of your head. Ego, 96% examples of impositions. While you're awake and asleep, I mentioned the sublim mix as you wake. TV themes and plasma, we mentioned coalescence, and just the themes and the rapidity and timing of commercials. Chumming in, the ego, as they can see through you, will try to chum in as the comrade to influence your judgment and resolute thoughts. Physical input datas, what you're eating. Perk cards at shopping center may be example. Reruns, constant words you can't get rid of over and over. Doubt loops, same thing. Urge to shop, seek, and feed. Get up and go find something. Even if it doesn't make you happy, it's a sublim. And then nitpick and fame feed. Try to make you think you're going to be a hero, or you have to look and be super careful. And if David, I'm not sure what you were thinking with that center well in there, but I can understand you were desperate. And solo, we're going to call him Solo Moan. And Myrie Clay, Pet Cemetery, fine art. I think you know what we're talking about. Why you made so much money so quick. And then Bruce. Thanks, bro. My boss, Bruce X. Codispoti.